Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 63 of Build Your Stash and Craft. This week we are going to make a ribbon storage box, and this will be one where you can just access your ribbon automatically without digging for it or anything. And so I just have, you can use it to hold your ribbons, your lace, you can even hold your bling or your twine, anything that has a hole in it and is less than 4 inches in around this way will fit in this box. So right now, this is exactly why we need a ribbon storage box, because they're always just going all over the place. So the first thing we need to do is make the shell of our box. So what we need to have is a sheet of cardboard 18 inches by 20 3/4, and that's what I have here. Now this is the second time I've done the video, because the first time I did it, I don't know what happened, but it was in two parts. One part my computer could find on my phone, and the other part my computer could not find no matter what I did. So I must have recorded it in some other format or something and didn't know it. So I'm hoping I'm doing it right now. But so this piece of cardboard and my foam core board are going to be different than what I originally had. But this was just a piece of cardboard. It was a really heavy, thick piece of cardboard that, because it was so thick, I had peeled the back off of it, and I have 4 or 5 sheets like this, and this is the only piece of cardboard I had left in the house. So that's why the back looks like this. It doesn't, you don't need to peel it, and actually if it had the coating on it, because you're going to cover it anyways, if it had that extra piece of paper here, it would be sturdier. So I would, if I was you, I would not peel it like this, but I don't have a choice but to use this piece. So this piece of cardboard is 18 inches across and 20 3/4 inches up and down. And what we're going to do with this is we are going to score all the way around at 4 inches. So we're going to measure down 4 inches from the top, draw a line, and then I use my scissors and kind of press on that line to give myself a nice score there. And then just kind of hold your ruler on the line and take your cardboard and work it. You know, it's heavy cardboard, so you're going to have to kind of work it to get it all the way up there. Work it all the way from one end to the other, get it pressed up really nicely, and then go to your side. And again, measure in 4 inches, make your marks, draw your line, and then score it at 4 inches on the side. Do the same at the bottom, and do the same at the other side. And when you're done, you will have a square left in the middle, 12 3/4 inches from the top score to the bottom score, and 10 inches from one side score to the other. So when you're done, that will be your back of your ribbon storage box. And then what we're going to do is, from the long sides, we are going to cut inwards. So we are going to cut on the side that is 18 inches wide. We are going to cut from the side into the center. So we're just going to cut here. And so we're just going to cut this flap. So we're not going to cut to the center, I'm sorry. We are going to cut from the side to the score line. And then again at the bottom, cut from the side to the score line, and here from the side to the score line, and from the side to the score line. So what you wind up with is your long way is all still attached, and from the sides in, you are cutting to the score line. And we're just going to fold the sides up, and then fold the top down. I'm going to put some masking tape on here just to give it a quick hold. And then we're just going to glue those flaps down and use the masking tape to hold it initially, and then we're going to put our clothespins on there to hold it as a clamp. But first, to get it put together, I'm going to tape my tape together. Okay. Just fold this down and put a piece of tape on it, and fold this down Now I know this is still a little bit, this is large, so it's hard to get far enough away for you to see absolutely everything, which is another reason I stopped trying to figure out how to get the other video, because now I've raised my tripod up a little bit. The other one was even closer than this. Okay, so there we go. So this is what it's going to look like when you get it done. Okay, so it's just going to be a box that's 10 inches across and 12 3/4 inches tall and 4 inches deep, because we scored that at 4 inches. And then just go around, and we're going to put glue on the flaps. You want to make sure you get close to the edges. And then we're just going to squish that in. Now make sure that you don't fold your edges in too far. Don't fold, don't make it really tight and push that in. You want a nice kind of square corner, as square as you can get. And then just use the tape to hold it, and use some of your clothespins to hold it. Okay, and then we're just going to do that all the way around, and then we're going to set this aside and work on our inner supports. And you want to make sure you get enough glue on there. Because I've got the corrugation, I'm even putting a little maybe extra, because it doesn't have as much. If this was a solid piece of paper on there, it would have more to stick to. Okay, so we're going to do that and get the other two. And you are going to want to let this part dry before you put all of your supports in. Well, I'm not going to because of the video, but it would be a little bit sturdier. But we're going to glue the supports in also, so that's also going to give it support. So, but you're going to want it to at least be dry enough that that the sides are sticking together. And this is our last flap here. And we'll get some clothespins on there. And this will be all set. I want to just give it a good press at the bottom where it's not being clamped. And every so often I kind of go past and give it a press like this. Just give it a press where it's glued, just to make sure that it's making good contact as the glue's drying. And there we go. So now we've got this all set and ready to dry. So we're going to set this aside, and then I might fit in screen this way. There's what we have so far. So I'm going to set this aside, stop the video right here, and make sure that it actually uploads, and then I will be back to show you how to cut the supports. But let me show you just really quickly here. Again, we started with a full sheet of cardboard, 18 inches by 20 3/4, and then what we did was we scored it at 4 inches on both sides, on the top and the bottom. And then after we did that, we went in and we cut from the outside edge to the first score line, from the outside edge to the first score line on all 4 corners, and that's from the side in towards the middle, but only to that first up and down score line. And then you wind up with a piece that's 12 3/4 tall and 10 inches wide on the inside. So this is what we've done so far, and I'm going to just kind of hold this here in case you need to write it down, and I hope you can see it well enough. And I also have all of the cuts marked out like this for the foam core board too, and I'm going to show it to you this way so that you'll be able to write everything down. So if I haven't held this long enough, just pause the video and grab your numbers, and I will be back in just a second. Okay, so I'm back with the measurements to make all of our cuts on our foam core board. So we started out with an Elmer's foam board that was 20 by 30. And this one is 3/16 of an inch thick. I believe this is a little bit thicker than the one that I had before, but it's what I had, so it's what I'm going to deal with. So this is what we have. This is our 20-inch side, and this is our 30-inch side. Kind of have it upside down. So these are going to be our first cuts. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to cut it at 4 inches. And I make all of my cuts separately. I do not mark them out like as I mark the 4, 8, 12. I don't do that. I mark out 4 inches and I cut it. I mark out 4 inches and I cut it. You can mark it all if you want to, and just make sure that you have that your addition is right and you have the right measurements. So, but we're going to cut a piece that's 4 inches, and all of these pieces will be on the 20-inch length this way, and they're going to all be full cuts to start with. So we're going to do 4 inches, and then 4 inches, and then 4 inches, and that will make our upright shelves. Then we are going to do 1 inch and 1 inch and 1 inch, and that will make our front shields. And then we will do 4 of them at 3 3/4, 3 3/4 for 4 of them, and the first 2 will make our shelves, and the second 2 will make our divider supports. So this is how we are going to cut it the first time. And again, I'm going to bring the numbers up a little closer so that they're easier to see. And then again, those are full cuts across the whole board. Once you have made all of those cuts, no Zeke, no Pee-wee. Once you've made all of those cuts, I do, especially on the 4 and the 3 3/4, I put at the top 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, because you don't want to get these two sizes mixed up. They're so close, but getting them mixed up could give you a real headache later. You could probably figure out a way to fix it, but you would have to finagle it. So that is what we are going to need to cut first. Once you have all of those straight cuts done, then we are going to go in and do it this way. The ones that are 4 inches, we are going to cut those 17 inches long. Don't pay attention to these black things yet. We're going to do the red lines right now. So on all 3 of our 4-inch pieces, we are going to cut all 3 of them 17 inches long, and then these 3 little pieces just get set aside. Then our 1-inch ones, we're going to cut all 3 of those at 10 1/2, and then just take these extra 3 strips and set them aside. The first 2 sets of 3 3/4, we are going to cut at 9 3/4 inches. And what I like to do, because this is a straight edge, I measure 9 3/4 this way and cut it, and then I measure 9 3/4 from this end and cut it, so that I always have that straight manufacturer's end on those, just because I can, because there's only the 2 cuts. And so then I do the same here. So these will be our shelves, and you will wind up with 4 pieces that are 9 3/4 inches long by 3 3/4 inches wide, and you'll wind up with a little tiny 2 little 1/2-inch pieces there. Then the second 2 of the 3 3/4 are going to be cut 4 1/4, and we will need 6 of those. So we're going to cut 4 out of the first one, and you'll have a little piece left, and then we'll cut 2 out of the second one, and then you'll have a nice size piece here. Let's see, 8, 8 1/2, so you'll have whatever, 9 1/2, 10 1/2 inches left over here. So that's the biggest piece that you're going to have left out of this whole thing. And so those are the way that we are going to make our cuts. Now, actually, let me hold this one up here for just a second in case you want to write those numbers down. And again, we're just doing the red lines. And then we'll just have a little bit left over. So, okay, if that's not long enough, go ahead and pause the video so that you can write those numbers down. And I will show you what these cuts look like now that we've got them cut. I have cut most of them because for you to sit here and watch me cut straight lines and straight lines, and that's pretty much all they are. Just cut your pieces to size. There are a few things that I am going to show you here that I have left to cut. But let me bring in my cutting mat. Make sure you put something underneath your underneath when you're cutting. And so the first thing is when we cut these the first three 17 inches by 4 inches, what we need to do now is we need to score cut those at 3 3/4 from each end. Okay, that's 3 3/4 from each end. I guess maybe I should put it this way. Score cut those. And what score cut is on a piece of foam core board, that's just what I call it, because it reminds me not to cut it, not to score it. A score cut is taking your piece and cutting just the paper on the top of the foam board so that it will fold and the paper on the other side is still attached. And that's what I meant by this one looks different, because this is what I had. That's why it's black on the inside. But all you have to do is you just cut the paper. You don't need to cut the foam, because after you cut the paper, you go to bend that and it will just snap right there, and it will give you a nice clean line rather than trying to cut it, especially if your blade is not real sharp. When you cut foam core, it kind of drags and makes little bumps and stuff. No big deal, but so that's what we're going to do here, and I am going to show you how to do that. I already have 2 of those done. We need 3. 1, 2, 3 of those. And so here's 2, and here's our 3rd one. So what I've done is I've made my 3 marks at 3 3/4. And I need to find my red ruler, because if you have this kind of a ruler, if you use this with your razor knife, it chips off. Like, I don't have any lines right there. It has taken off most all of my lines. Not sure exactly why, because it didn't just chip it at the top, it took the lines away completely. So I have made marks at 3 3/4 so that I could go in and make my little marks here. Again, don't forget that on your rulers, most of them have this little extra, it's hard to see, but that little extra bit right there, remember that you're measuring from that line, not from the edge of the ruler. And when you're marking, if you're marking from the other end this way, you need to mark on that line, not the edge of the ruler, because that will mess you up. And so then what you're going to do is you are just going to, whatever side you score cut it on, the other side is going to be the inside of your box. This will be what you see. So if you have writing on one or something that you don't want to show, cut on the side that you don't want to show. So I'm going to hold my ruler up on my marks, and I am just going to cut just the paper. Okay, and then what you do with that is just give it a bend, and there we go. It just pops and breaks. And we have a really nice cut there. And I'm going to come in. I came in 3 3/4 from this end. And I'm going to just give that a snap, and there we go. So now we have all 3 of our uprights cut. So that is now 4 inches by 17 inches, score cut at 3 3/4. These 3 are all done. Then we had our 1 inch ones, and I have cut those to 10 1/2. So we have those 3. And then the next ones are our shelves. So those are 3 3/4 by 9 3/4. So we have 4 of those shelves here. And as you can see, this is where I marked them as I was cutting them, my first full length like this. You can see here's where I marked them. The other one was on the part that got cut off down here. But there are our 4 shelves. So that's those 4. And then we needed 6 that are 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. And so I have those all here. Now, with the 4 1/4 by 3 3/4, we are going to cut a little foot on those. And the foot's going to look just like that. Okay, so to do that, this is just a 1/2 inch in and leaving a 1/2 inch at the bottom. And this is the 4 1/4 length side. So that winds up bringing it back to 3 3/4. So what we're going to do is, this is 4 1/4 inches long, 3 3/4 tall. I am going to just on this length, I'm going to come in a 1/2 inch and cut all the way down to a 1/2 inch from the bottom, and then go across. So we're just going to, and actually I'm going to start, here's the piece that we're going to cut out right here. And just to, this is the piece that we're going to cut out. We're going to get rid of that piece right there. Okay, so I'm just going to cut. And again, when you're cutting foam board, make more than one cut. You'll get a much cleaner cut that way. And then I'm just going to cut across this way. Make sure you get good to the corner, because you want that to be a nice clean corner, because your supports are going to sit on that. So there we go. Now we have this little piece and it has this little foot on it. Okay, so we have 6 of these. And again, that was by cutting it on the 4 1/4 side, just cutting off a 1/2 inch and leaving a 1/2 inch at the bottom, coming across like that. So now we have 6 of these supports to support our shields. So those are all of our cuts and all of our pieces. And so I am going to come back in just a little bit and show you how to put the box all together. So I need to let the box dry a little bit longer before I put it together. So I'll be back in just a bit. Okay, I'm back and our box has dried long enough. So I'm just going to take off my clips, and then we're going to put all of our pieces in and see how they fit. Now, depending on the different widths and stuff of your cardboard and exactly where your folds are, your fit might be a little loose, it might be a little tight. I'm going to leave this sideways. This is the top of our box, this is the bottom, but this way I can get the whole thing in the camera. So these are our uprights, the ones that are 17 inches long and 4 inches wide that we score cut. And so we're going to put this right in here, and it's too tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of come in the middle where it will stretch open a little bit. I was kind of worried about that because this cardboard is so thick. But what's going to happen is we're going to wind up gluing these to the side anyways, so they will stay up, and you know, it's just a matter of fitting them. So we've got one upright and then a shelf. And then our next upright, because this is tight, what I am going to do is put the top one in next, because that's where they'll be the tightest. The middle one won't be as tight because it has a little bit of give to it. So then we're going to put our shelf in there. And then our third upright. And these uprights are what holds your shelf up. And because they give your shelf support, I'm going to turn it this way now so we can see. Because this goes down and across, that shelf sits on here, it sits on the back of this upright, and it sits on the side of this upright. So that shelf is supported on 3 sides. Now technically we're not even using these shelves as shelves, but it's still, whenever I build a box, that is the way I build it. And then these shelves are really, really sturdy, because the only place it's not supported is the front. And if you make a really super long one, then what you do is you put a support in the middle, and that will give you a really strong shelf. Now, This is a little bit messed up right there. And I'm going to be super picky because once I glue it, it's glued. So I'm going to put the yuckier one on the bottom. And that just, it had a dent in the foam board, which is no big deal, doesn't hurt anything, but I just don't want it right in the middle of my box. So we'll put that one in there. And also, now we cut 4 shelves and we've only used 2. And again, that's probably because the box is quite tight. Here's the one, hold on a minute. Here's the one that I made in the video that I couldn't get to work. Same dimensions, and see, this one has a shelf at the top and a shelf at the bottom. That is what filled our full length of this box. So this one has one here, one here, one here, and one here. And they fit really nicely. This one didn't quite work out that way. There is no room to put one at the top and the bottom, and that's totally fine. It's not going to hurt a thing. The only reason really that they're in here is to fill the space. So you just make them however it works the best. So now we actually have 2 extra shelves. I was going to show you when you're done cutting all of your pieces, this is all you have left. Let me move this. We have our 6 little pieces from cutting out our little feet, and we have 2 little strips from the center of the 9-inch ones, and then we have 3 from our 4-inch shelves, 1 left over from our 3 1/4 inch short one, 1 left over from our 3 1/4 inch long one, and then these are the 3 pieces that are left from our guards. So that's it. This is what you have left when you're done cutting out this project. So really, except now I actually have 2 shelves left, but you can't count on that because it all depends on just how your box fits together. Okay, so now that we have this done, what we're going to do is we are going to glue these to the side. We're not going to do that yet. The first thing we need to do is put our holes in for our skewers. So we are going to make, these are dividers. And these dividers are made to go between each spool of ribbon. And so what you do is you cut a piece of cardboard that is 4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. Okay? And then you're going to, the 4-inch is what goes up and down inside, and the 4 1/4, you're going to cut that at the 3 3/4 inch mark, so that you have your foot just like these. Okay, so these are going to go in here like this, and then these will be put in here all the way along as you put your ribbon in. So you need a lot of these, as many as spools of ribbon as you have. And so what I've done is I took, and let me grab my ruler, and I went from, as if this foot wasn't here, I went from the top corner to the bottom corner, and then just made a mark, and then I went from this corner to this corner, and I made a mark, and my marks are here and here, and so that's where your center is. And then I just took a ballpoint pen, because that was the right size, and I just pushed it through the middle until I got to the white part of the barrel. That's as far as I wanted to go. Because I still want, and then you're going to put this in your shelf, and you are going to make a mark right where that hole is. So right where that hole is, I'm going to put a mark in my foam core. And then I'm going to take this pen and I'm going to just push it right through there. I'm going to take a piece of this extra foam core, put it under my box. And I'm just, you can't really see me because I need to push straight down, but I'm just going to push down on that pen until it goes through the foam core. and through a little bit the side of the box. It came out right here, so now I'm going to go this way, and I'm just going to give it a twist, and go this way and give it a twist, and then do the same thing on this other side. Now this is my template, and this is what I use to draw around to get more of these. Whenever you have your template, make sure that you mark it really good. You know that's your template, because you don't want to draw around one, cut it out, and then use that one to draw around another, and then use that one to draw around another, because what happens is every time they get just a smidge bigger, and you don't want them to get bigger and bigger and bigger, so always use the same template. So now I'm going to go in here, and again, I'm going to draw around where that hole is with my foot sticking out. Then I'm just going to go in and find that spot, put my pen through it. I'm going to give it a good push till it goes out the other side of the cardboard. Get it out of there. And it came through right here, so I'm going to put this right there and push through this way. Give it a little wiggle. Go back over here and give it a little wiggle. Just like that. And then we're going to take 3 skewers, which I've cut the points off of, and put them into this hole and all the way through the other side. And there we go. That's how we are going to hold our ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other 2, and I am going to glue these flaps to the side and use my those clothespins to hold those up there like that, and let that dry for just a little bit, and then I will be right back. So all I'm going to do is exactly the same thing. I'm going to use my template here and here and here and here, and put the holes in, put the skewers in. The skewers don't no skewers, because when you put the glue in, you don't want to glue your skewers in. So put all of your holes in and then glue them, and then take your skewers out. Now I would have your skewers in when you glue them and when you put your clips on, to make sure that your holes are lined up well. But the second that you do that, then take the skewers out so they don't get glued in that spot, because you'll need to be able to take them in and out to put in your ribbon. So I'm going to put in the holes and glue this, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the sides glued to the side, and I have it held into place. All of our holes are in there. And you want to put the holes in before you glue it, because it's hard to poke a hole sometimes through dry glue. So that's why I did that before I glued it. So that needs to just set aside and dry a bit. And while that's drying, we're going to make some dividers for our ribbon holder. And these dividers are the part, figure out where to start cutting. The dividers are the part of the ribbon holder that make it, for me, the perfect ribbon holder, because I had so many different problems, and I think that I have it figured out, that the way that I do this, it works for me. It works really well for me, because I don't get tangled ribbon and I don't get unrolling ribbon. And so I will show you how that works once we get the whole thing together. But you do need the dividers. That's like one of the most important parts. So again, like I said, this was a 4" by 4.5 inch, or 4 inches by 4 1/4 inches. And it has a hole in the middle of the actual, this square. And then this is 4 1/4 from here all the way out to here. And then we cut out our 1/2 inch strip, just exactly the way that we did these. Okay, except these are only 3 1/4 inches tall, because that's what we had left of our foam core board, and they didn't have to be 4 inches tall. This is as tall as our shelf, and this fits in here. It's a little bit loose. I actually kind of like them when they fit in there really quite tight, but we'll see how this works. If I have to cut some more that are just a little bit taller to make it tight, then I'll do that, but I don't think we're going to need that. All right, so what I've done is you just figure out like where you can fit this pattern on your cardboard. So if I do that, then it doesn't fit on the cardboard there. So I have figured out that it fits this way, I think, and I can get 2 out of each piece of box. You just want to try it different ways to get the most bang out of your box, so you're not wasting a whole bunch. And then I think if I turn this one this way, and I'm just going to trace around it. You know, if you have a cereal box, you can probably get maybe 4 out of each side. Just whatever you have for chipboard. And just cut them out. When you're cutting chipboard, always try and make straight cuts like this. Like instead of trying to make that corner, I'm going to make that straight cut in, and then make a straight cut like this all the way to the next one. Do the same over here. And here. We are going to have to go between them, but at least this way, because you want to get the least bend in your cardboard, and when you try and make corners, then sometimes you get a bend. And we'll just go at an angle here. Excuse the phone, I won't answer it, I'll check it in a minute. We'll just go like this, and then I can come in and I can cut this. There we go. And so now there we have, whoops, I didn't cut the bottom off of this one, and I had made a mark that I needed to do that. There we go. And then just finish up this one. And then the way that I have looked at it, I believe that we can get about 11 spools, depending on what you're putting on there and how thick it is. About 11 spools per shelf. So if you did about 33 of these, you would have enough. So you might have enough if you have really skinny spools of ribbon. You know, you might even be able to fit more. So I am just going to line this up and grab my pen, make a mark, do it with the second one too, just like we did with the other. And then I'm just going to take my pen and poke it through right in that middle. Find my piece here. It just makes it easier if you have something you can poke into. And then I'm just going to make that go all the way up to about the white barrel and stop right there. And do the same with this one. And there we go. So there's 2 more dividers for our ribbon holder. Always keep your template. I keep my template. I always put my template like up in my right hand corner at the top. That's just where I keep mine. But you want to keep that because you never know if you're going to need to make some more. Especially like maybe you only want to make 10. We only have a few rolls of ribbon, so you don't need to make them all right away. You can use the other shells for something else if you want to. But you want to keep that template so that you don't have to make another one. So those are our dividers, and I have quite a few here because I had already made them for the other box. But I'll put some on each shelf so that they're there and ready to go. And then we also have these, and the feet on these, the reason that we cut these is these are for a support for our front, well, whatever you put in the front. Can't think of the name of it. It's not a support. Let's see. I wrote it down because our shield. There's a shield in the front. And so that's what these feet are going to hold. So we will put these and these in at the same time when we put our ribbon in. So first we're going to have to just let our box dry just a little bit longer before we do that. And then I'll be back, we'll put our ribbon in, and we'll be all set. Okay, so this has dried enough, and so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put it together. And then I'll show you how I'm going to decorate it, and then I'm going to go off camera, finish decorating it, and then I'll show you what it looks like completed. So we'll just get all of these clips off of here. Okay, so now we've got it all put together, we've got it all glued together. Has a little bit of a bow in it, but that's okay. And now what we're going to do is we are going to take our 6 little foot supports, and these ones I put a hole in them just like I did the others. And so these are going to go on each side. There'll be one on each side. You can glue these in if you'd like to, and I might glue them in later, I'm not sure. Or otherwise you can just leave them like they are because the skewers will hold them. And then we'll put a few of our dividers in. So we'll just put those in there. Those are kind of tight. I like that. Alrighty, and then just take 3 skewers. And why am I using the skewers? Because we have them. We have them in our stash, and we could go buy dowels, but dowels are not necessarily that cheap. And so why not use what we have? So, you know, as a kid, I didn't have a lot of like fancy crafting things. I just made do with what I had. And so I'm going to put those 3 skewers in there. And then just put these on. And it's easier to do just 1 or 2 at a time. You don't have to try and do a whole bunch at once. That makes it actually harder. Oops. See, now I just put those on upside down. We've got to make sure that our feet are sticking out. And here's our foot right here, and I put it to the back. I don't know how I flipped those over. And it looks a bit fiddly, but it's not as bad as it looks. I always make everything look harder than it really is. And we're just going to put our skewers through the other side. I'm going to put them through this piece first. There we go. So that's how that will look. You'll have your skewers sticking out a little bit on each side. And you want that because you want to be able to get a hold of them. I'm trying to make them even. You want to be able to get a hold of them to get them out. So you leave a little bit and you can push on this side and pull on this side and they'll come right out. So, and then this is how we put our ribbons in there. Now I have, this ribbon's got a pin on it. So we're going to take that one off. You know, I store ribbons like every which way. And this way, you don't have to do anything like that. No tape, no pins, no rubber bands. Try and get that one in there. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put a divider. And then a spool of ribbon. And then another divider. And this one's got a rubber band on it, so we'll take that off. And make sure that you take off however you have your ribbon secured. You want to take that off before you put it in. Another divider. And this one's got a rubber band on it. Just make sure that you don't forget to put a divider between each one. And you want the ribbon to come off the top. Like this, come off the top and come down this way. You don't want it coming from underneath. So This one's got a piece of tape on it. Whoops, see, I almost forgot to put a divider in there. Bet you were hollering at me. Put that one down. Put a divider in there. See, and look at the mess that's making. This is going to stop that from happening. Another divider. Okay, and then we could put, I've got some sequins here. This one I just have like a little slit in my cardboard and use that to hang on to it. Another divider. Make sure our feet are coming towards the front. Oh, look at this one. Did y'all see that? I put that one in wrong. The foot was down at the bottom. There we go. And there we go. Okay. Now, I could put my bling in there. It will fit just fine. The only thing is that the way I like to cut my bling, I really don't want to have it on here. So I'm going to leave my bling out, but I am going to put my twine in here. And I like to have everything on this side. And I want my twine because it's smaller on that end. So I'm going to just finish putting this through. Put it through this one. Put it through the outside. There we go. Okay, now I want my, whoops, this one comes over here. I want my twine on this side, so I'm just going to pull that through. Put this in here. And then just go back the other way. Oops. And they're a little bit tight, but you want them a little bit tight. So, because you want them, you want them to stay in there nicely. I'll put my heavy supports on each side. I'm going to slide all these down to this end. Now I still have room for maybe 3 more right here, and if I didn't have that twine in there, I'd have room for even more. I'm going to roll that up a little bit, bring this one out. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to take our front shields, and these shields sit on the feet. And what this does is the feet make it so that your ribbon cannot go back and forth and get tangled up with each other. That's why we have the feet there. And the shield makes it so that they cannot come up over the foot and go over here or just be, hanging loose. You put this here, and that holds everything there, so it can't come up and over. It can't go back and forth. It's going to stay in its own spot. And the way that we attach our shields is by using our ribbon. So I'm going to take a length of ribbon that's about 2 inches on each end longer than my shield, and just cut this right here, maybe right about there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to glue this ribbon right to the front of the shield with the glue. Here it is. And when you do ribbon, you want to make sure that your glue's not super thick, or otherwise the glue comes right through the ribbon. So I usually like put it on like that and then just kind of smooth it out like that, and then wipe it on my shirt. Let's see, does this have a front or a back? It doesn't look like it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of center it both on the ends. Well, I'm going to center it on my black part also, on my shield. And since I'm going to be using this for a long time, I am going to be just a little picky and try and get it where I want it. There we go. Got a little bit hanging off each end. Just press that down. just like that. And then what we're going to do is we've got our Velcro that we got when we made our alcohol ink dauber things. And so we're going to use some of that, and I'm going to put some glue on the Velcro, and then I'm going to glue it to the ribbon right at the very end. Let your ribbon stay back just a little bit from the edge of the Velcro. Don't make your ribbon stick out over the edge, because you're going to use this to unhook it, and you don't want to grab the ribbon to pull, because Velcro is, you know, like so hard to pull. You want to grab the Velcro when you undo this. And so if you keep your ribbon back a little bit, you won't be tempted. If your ribbon's sticking out here, you'll be tempted to grab that ribbon to try and separate the Velcro. So we'll just put one of those on each end, and then we will glue the other part of the Velcro to the box. Now, I'm not going to do that until after I decorate it. And again, I'm putting that back just a little bit from the edge of the Velcro. Just like that, so you can still see a little bit of the Velcro. And there we go. And it has to dry anyways, but what we'll do then is we'll take the other piece, this back part of the Velcro, and we'll glue that to the side of the box, just like this. So that way, that will hold that right on there, and it's not going anywhere, but you can take it off very easily. So, and then what that does is that makes it so that nothing moves. And then I usually just like, let my ribbons hang down just a little bit so that I can easily grab them. I need my pink one to come out of there. Now you can either try and feed it back down through there, or just undo your Velcro, open it up, and pull it out. You don't have to try and reach up in there and get it or anything. It's just Velcro. It's really simple to move. So we'll try and leave them all just hang down just a little bit like that. Oops, my Velcro fell off. And you're not normally going to be sitting, your box is not going to be sitting on its back like that. It's going to be standing up. So your ribbons are not going to want to keep falling back like they are right now. There we go. Like that one just did. Okay. So then when you stand it up, you have all of your little ribbons hanging down like this. They can't touch each other. And I'm going to flip it upside down. Well, these supports are going to fall out. But I'm going to flip it upside down. If you were to have it sitting on your desk and, oops, it fell over. Well, that's okay, because it's all still right there. Still just perfect. Except the little tiny green one went back when I flipped it back this way. And again, just undo the Velcro and bring it here. And like I said, they're being a little bit, they want to roll that way just because of, they don't like sitting on their back. I guess I should leave them out a little bit more while I'm working, while I'm showing you. And then the other thing is that when you pull on one of these, nothing else moves. They're all staying completely still because these supports don't move. The cardboard that's on your ribbon moves, but the supports don't. So therefore, everything that it's touching stays right where it's at. You've got your the twine here, and when you pull on the twine, it likes to go back and forth because of the way it's wound up. And when it gets to the foot, it stops. And when you unwind it this way, when it gets to the foot, it stops. You just keep going, and it just keeps unwinding like that. So see, that's keeping that right in there. It's not bothering anybody else. And everything is nice and safe and secure. So all I need to do is just put a few more dividers in the bottom, put my skewers through there, and I have 3 layers to hold. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8, 9, 10. So you might even be able to fit maybe 12 or so in here if you didn't have your twine in there. But you can hold anything that has a hole and unwinds like that. It works just great. So the way that I'm going to decorate this, I'm going to make my other 2 of these so that I have one for the top, one for the middle, and one for the bottom. So I have to put these in. And So I'll make my other 2 of these, and then I'm going to decorate my box, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like the way that I'm going to decorate my box. And I'm going to cheat a little bit this year. Next week we're going to use something from the household, and this week I am using something that you don't have. You could have, but I'm going to use these napkins to cover my box because I do want to water glue something on the outside of my box. It just makes it more sturdy. And these were my mom's napkins, and I have not used them, and I thought with the pink they would look so pretty, and I really just want these on my box, and so I'm going to use them. If you do not, but it's not like you can't make this project without them. You can water glue newspaper, magazine pages, your painty papers, or you can just leave it your box like it is. I want to decorate mine, and I do think that it makes it more sturdy when you do that. So this is what I am going to put on my box, even though we did not get these for our stash. But I have 4 or 5 of them, and I've just had them setting aside to use them someday. And this is the project I want to use it on. So I am going to use these, and so I'm going to decorate this box up. And I'm going to use my water glue, which is 2 parts glue to 1 part water, and I just use our plain old PVA glue, which is just Elmer's glue, and except Dollar Tree brand. So I will be back to show you what it completely looks like finished, and I'll let you know what we need for next week. Okay, we're finally at the end. This is what our ribbon box looks like. I have it kind of tipped back a little bit so that you can see it. And one thing that I wanted to also tell you is on the ribbon box that I have in my art room, I have a pin, just a ball pin, whatever you call that, head pin. And I just stuck it at the top corner in my foam core. And then I just have a little pair of scissors. So just hanging on there, just like that, so that when you go to get some ribbon, your ribbon box is standing there. You just take your scissors and you just pull out a piece of ribbon, snip, snip, and you're all good to go. And then you just hang your scissors right back up there, and you've always got a little pair of scissors there. So that would be another idea that you could use. But this is what it looks like. So we don't have any on the top shelf, and if you only have a little bit of ribbon, like I only have a little bit of ribbon here, and you can take your extra supports and put them all right here, your dividers, and then leave your guards off the front, and or even put some stuff in there and put your guard back on the front, and then your stuff won't fall off your shelf. But you could use that as little shelves also. And this is what it looks like. I put my mom's napkins on there, and I'm really, really happy with that. And again, now that it's all together, I can tip it upside down without holding on to the supports, and that's what the supports look like on the side. And they're just there like that, and then they haven't been glued on very long, so I'm going to be really, really careful. But you just take them off like that, and then you just open it up, do what you need to do. Like right now, I'm just going to put these couple back down because they kind of went up a little bit from tipping it upside down, and then you just take it and just zip it right back over there again, and there you go. So I hope that you like the ribbon box. This is my favorite way to store ribbon, and again, because of the fact that the ribbon cannot go over the feet to get to the neighbor, they can't go this way. This keeps them right in line, keeps them in there, and when you pull on one, nobody else moves. And that's my favorite part about it, because the one that I used to have was just a curtain rod. I had all of my ribbons on there, and every time I pulled one, everybody else had to unwind. So I'd keep pins in them or tape, but I'd always forget to put it back, and I'd always just have a mess. So that is the thing, is that these little feet and these front guards, to me, just make this the perfect ribbon box. And I used to try and figure out how to do it on my reel, but I couldn't figure out. I knew I needed something that was like square, that wouldn't turn when my reels turned. And that's where I came up with these and the little feet. So that is this week's project done. For next week, we are going to need, this is a 10-pack of little Sure Fresh containers. These come from the craft department at the Dollar Tree. Not 10 in there anymore because I've already used a couple. But so we'll need this. You need to have 6. You have to have at least 6. So you don't have to have a 10, but that's the size that they have. And then we need 2 packs of these styrofoam balls, and that will give us enough for what we're going to do. So I checked styrofoam at other places and I couldn't find it, but it needs to be the styrofoam that is the white holy styrofoam, not the green that you know, like is really solid, or the green that's really soft. It needs to be the white, you know, styrofoamy styrofoam. So we'll need 2 packages of these and 1 package of the little containers. So that'll be $3 for next week, and we'll stick $2 in our bank. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you like the ribbon storage. And if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to email me or just send me a message. If you're trying to make one and you're having problems, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thank you very much, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.